Hello, Younger Old here, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about what attributes do you have, or what attributes do you think you need to be a good rider. I'm just going to give you my opinions. Stay tuned, watch the intro. Now, I'm not just talking about your road riding skills. Yes, that's important. But I also want to look at other aspects which can actually make you a better, safer rider. The first thing is actually a good rider will always make sure that they have a valid insurance, MOT and tax. So, make sure you're legal on the road. In my humble opinion, the next part of being a good rider takes place the night before the ride. The rider should not be out on a drinking session the night before, as the alcohol stays in our system for some time. I have known 2 people fail a breath test the following morning after drinking the night before. The rider should wake up after a good night's sleep and not feel tired. They should feel awake, alert and looking forward to the day's ride. They should look at the weather outside and decide if the conditions are favourable for the ride. That doesn't mean we should all be fair weather riders, but we should at least be safe weather riders. There are limits. So okay, the weather's good for a ride, so down a cup of your favourite breakfast beverage, maybe a shower, and now we are wide awake and alert. Now this is when I take my bike out of the garage, and basically I just check there's enough air in the tyres, check that the lights and the horn are all working, and of course not forgetting the brakes are functioning as they should. I also like to check the floor space in the garage where the bike has stood, just to make sure there's no leakage of any fluids that may need investigating. As you are aware, I'm a believer in all the gear all the time. So depending on how hot or cold it is, may determine what protective clothing I will wear for the day. But I will be wearing it one way or another. I've got different ones for cold weather and hot weather, but I would never go out without any of it. I make sure I've got my debit card and some cash in my wallet, and I zip that into my jacket pocket, as well as my fully charged phone, just in case I might need it. Now at this point I should be ready to go, but as always I've never got any fuel. I never seem to have any, be it in my car or on my bike. I always plan to sort of fill up on the way home, but it never happens. I get home after a ride out and I tend to just sort of pull into the garage with only vapours left in the tank. So it now leaves me first thing in the morning to go to the nearest fuel station to fill up. I'm sorry for those guys who always have to wait for me to arrive at a meeting point. So anyway, I've now got my tank of fuel and I'm ready for the ride. Because I've had to travel to the fuel station, at least my engine and tyres have now warmed up and I'm feeling happy with the way the bike feels and handles. I have a Bluetooth system in my helmet, but I don't tend to ride with music blaring out in my helmet. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, it's just not for me. I prefer to be able to hear the bike engine and other sounds around me, and to have music mask these sounds, I don't know, for me I just tend to lose focus on the riding. I said, for those who don't bother, that's absolutely fine, but no, I choose not to. While I'm riding, I'm doing the usual, I tend to make sure that I'm focusing on what potential hazards are around me, trying to take note of everything. And always remember, a hazard only becomes a danger if we don't react to the hazard. So the sooner we see it, the more time we have to react. I'm making sure that I'm doing all my correct observations, including the lifesavers or shoulder checks wherever needed. Hey, we all enjoy the twisties. There's nothing like going around a country lane and, leaning the bike into a bend. But always remember, enter the bend slower. Slow down before you get to that bend, and only open the throttle when you can see completely around the bend and you know the exit is clear. I actually knew a guy who, him and his wife were out in their car, in the state car. Basically they broke down just round a bend. They were just getting out of the car to push it onto the grass verge, and a bike came round the bend far too fast and went straight into the back of the car. Luckily the pillion was thrown clear and only had minor injuries. Sadly that wasn't the case for the rider. They had to get emergency services out and jack the car up to get the rider's body and the bike out. An absolute tragic accident which could have quite easily have been avoided. Before I know it, I've now done 50 miles. So that just means one thing: it must be time for breakfast, or at very least a nice cup of coffee, and in my case a ciggy to go with it. I do find that 50 to 70 miles is enough for me. I am not now, and never have been, a mile muncher, iron butt type of rider. I want to enjoy the journey to wherever I'm going. It's not just about the destination and getting there. I mean, I would be if I were driving a car, but not when I'm on my bike. Since having the GTR, my knees feel a lot better, but I still get a numb bum, and I just enjoy to get off the bike for 10 minutes, stretch my legs, take my helmet off, scratch my head, and have another ciggy. I have mentioned before many times that conditions like being too hot or cold or wet can and will distract your concentration. And when your concentration is distracted, you're not concentrating on the riding. Now, being uncomfortable will have much the same effect. You'll be riding along thinking my knees, my shoulders or any other part of the body are aching or even hurting. Here again, this will distract you and take your mind off the most important job, and that is riding the bike safely. Dehydration is another problem, so just have a stop, stretch your legs, move about and take on some fluids. After 10 minutes or so you will feel better, a bit more refreshed. Your aches and pains will feel a bit better as well, so you can continue the ride in a safe manner. As my dad always used to say, I'd sooner be a bit late in this life than years early for the next. My wife is normally a good pillion, but I must admit, after about 50 miles, she gets a little bit fidgety and riddles about on the pillion seat, and you can feel that. I know now that she needs to get off. At the end of the day, she gets a numb bum and she gets sciatica if she's in the saddle for too long, and that will spoil the journey. It could spoil the whole day, or even the next following few days, because she doesn't really want to get back on the bike again. So at the end of the day, it's just nice to have a stop and stretch your legs. I must admit, even I'll go on the road, and if there's a nice view, I'll pull over into a lay-by just so I can take some videos or some pictures. I have to admit, if it's just the wife and I, we tend to have more stops anyway, because I usually need to stop and check the sat nav or the map because I'm probably lost. Now, this is something most of us have probably been guilty of, and that's rushing. You're behind your schedule to get to a ferry crossing or whatever, and basically you're more likely to take chances to try and make up that time, and that equates to unsafe riding. So allow extra time for your journey, You'll enjoy a more stress-free journey, as well as it being a lot safer one. For my next trip to the Isle of Wight, I've actually booked the ferry 2 hours after I planned to get there. So if I get delayed for any reason, time is still on my side. We might just decide to stop and have a nice lunch somewhere, and we can do that without the worry of we must push on to get there, because we're running out of time. If we didn't have that lunch stop and we actually got there early, the chances are we'll get on an earlier crossing anyway. Even if we had to wait half an hour or an hour for the ferry, then there's plenty of places to grab a coffee and wait. After all, you're on holiday, so why rush around? You have to do that every day at work or when you're around the home. You don't want to be doing it when you're having a bit of a break. The idea is to chill out, relax and enjoy the journey. And you can only do that if you plan ahead and allow yourself extra time to do it in. So it's easy to see that with a little bit of planning and preparation, we can make the journey less stressful, therefore making it a safer ride. So if you enjoyed this video, please do the ticks, and as always, take care, ride safe, and bye for now.